Hi, and welcome back. My name is still Fabian, a former automotive strategy consultant turned automotive product manager, and today we will be talking about decoding the automotive chessboard, a competitive analysis of the automotive industry. More specifically, I'll be talking about the main players of the automotive industry at the moment in terms of different categories of players, where they sit in the wider competitive landscape, who some of the key players are, and what type of strategy they're currently pursuing to stay competitive. So we will be talking about traditional automakers, we will be talking about disruptors and new entrants, we will be talking about tech giants and how they're entering the automotive industry. We are going to delve into emerging markets and players, and afterwards focusing a little bit more on niche players, specialized segments, before finally we are covering collaborations and alliances as an overarching topic that most of the other stakeholder or player groups are involved with. There are some legacy automotive companies such as Toyota and Volkswagen who are always very close in terms of being the largest manufacturer in the world. We have companies like General Motors and Ford, and all of them have at least so far, very stable market presence, while they're entering and exiting some kind of smaller markets. Otherwise, they're fairly established, all of them, and it's not a secret that the automotive industry has seen hardly any major disruption over the 100+ years of its existence. Their brand equity in automotive is very strong, so all of these kind of brands I've just mentioned, and even some of the new ones, it's really critical for them to make sure that their customers understand what they stand for, why they're unique, and what kind of values they convey, as this very much reflects on them as customers after all. All of these incumbents are traditionally very strong in terms of manufacturing and distribution, so kind of very much the kind of bread and butter and supply chain orchestration of the industry, while their kind of strategies in terms of disrupting new investments in electrification, autonomous driving, shared mobility, etc., is still very much unclear, and I've covered this in a previous video, have very much different approaches in terms of this is how they intend to compete and differentiate, or potentially even participate in the first place in some of these areas. The second big category of players are disruptors and new entrants. There are loads of new entrants that most often they're not come and go, that try to disrupt the fairly established automotive industry. And I mean, most prominently in terms of electric vehicles is arguably Tesla, who in many markets is now an established top 10 player. And there are also lots of other solely EV-focused new entrants like Rivian, Lucid Motors, NIO, that have their unique approaches and ways of doing things to disrupt the very much established automotive landscape. And it's yet to be seen how successful some of these are, as the incumbents are ramping up their electric vehicle production. Arguably critical, both in terms of costs and differentiation, is the element of batteries, battery capacity. Some partner, some build up their own battery manufacturing sites, etc., like gigafactories and others, where it's yet to be seen how well this plays out for some of these big incumbents. But it's arguably a really interesting space that has seen lots of new players entering over the past, especially decade. The third big category of players are tech giants, and they're very much, actually most of them are in one form or another entering the automotive space. Some as suppliers, some as actual manufacturers. So we've seen announcement and loads of partnerships with the very much established likes of Google, Apple, and Amazon in the automotive space. It's not a secret, but Google for some time worked on their automotive product. It's now very much a leading supplier. Apple for some time worked on automotive product that wasn't a success, and they fired lots of senior executives. And Amazon is arguably a leader in automotive technology. Their especially kind of cloud computing division around AWS they've got leading speakers on all of the big conferences. They partner very closely with the big manufacturers, so they're in automotive very much an established player now. It's really interesting. So they, of course, as technology becomes more critical to differentiate in automotive, the importance of some of these tech giants, also, of course, mentioning NVIDIA and loads of the AI companies, are really helping OEMs in partnerships to develop autonomous driving technology, connected car platforms, and mobility solutions to be able to compete in a space where it's now really interesting to see how this plays out in terms of differentiation, because whenever companies can buy something externally, it's arguably no longer possible to differentiate with this factor, but maybe through a unique combination of partners it is. So this is where we will see a very much an interesting competitive playing field and really a chessboard-like strategic thinking by all of the players, large or small, to see what their kind of bets on certain players and partnerships are. The fourth category, emerging markets and players. There are loads of, especially from Asia, China and Taiwan and Japan, lots of players like BYD, Geely, NIO, that have ambitions for global expansion, and lots of them are currently entering the European market with very interesting products that are price competitive, that are very compelling, that in lots of cases actually gain a good positive reputation. Not all of them, potentially a majority not, but some of them are gaining traction. There are companies from India like Tata Motors, Mahindra, in both the domestic and international market, where we have to see to what extent they can leverage their kind of lower price point products in higher price point markets that with customers that have quite different expectations. So it's really interesting to what extent some of these players, especially from Asian countries, will be able to expand into Europe, the US, and some of the larger markets. There are niche players, category number 5, niche players and specialized segments. There are luxury brands like BMW, Mercedes, Audi that have clear strategies for maintaining their premium positions. They're arguably fairly conservative. They all, in one form or another, jump on the electric vehicle bandwagon, but arguably conservative, not risking too much, not deviating too much from their historic designs and customer groups, etc. So it's yet to be seen whether this is a kind of bulletproof strategy or potentially a little bit of a risky one, and whether they might be ending up in a Clayton Christensen's innovator's dilemma, where they get disrupted by a company that does things fundamentally different. And there are arguably companies like Ferrari and Porsche in the sports car segment, so specific market segments, off-road vehicles like Jeep and Land Rover that have their own unique positionings into these segments. Arguably, especially these companies, maybe with the exception of Porsche, who has been a technology leader in the space, they are late to the EV party, and some companies like Ferrari have been quite public about that they still see a space for internal combustion engines moving forward, because they see it fundamental to their brand differentiation and others. And finally, last category, collaborations and alliances. There are There has been lots of consolidation in the automotive industry over the past years and decades, not just with partners, but also between automotive companies. Of course, PSA as one example, then the alliance with, there have been so many partnerships recently, and lots of joint ventures also in the technology space, shared platforms for vehicle production with Ford and Volkswagen, for example, and partnerships for market expansion as well, where companies consolidate. This was part of the PSA merger, where they really wanted to tap into different geographies. And while these companies arguably there have been synergetic effects, it's yet to be seen to what extent this continues to happen. Arguably, if this is a kind of trend that just keeps on going, we end up with a very kind of streamlined set of companies, potentially a few with just a few distinct brands, and everything else is just streamlined, and we've got digital differentiation. Whether this is what's going to happen over the next decades is yet to be seen, but arguably there has been a trend of consolidation in automotive over the recent history that's currently still continuing, as also financial pressures are definitely quite present, and scale economies more important than ever. To conclude, we've covered various competitors, strategies, positionings for success in the market. We've delved into the different players and some unique perspectives and examples. I would highly encourage you, because it's such an exciting space, to stay informed about current industry developments in automotive and competitive dynamics. If you enjoy these videos, please tune in to the next one. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I see you again soon. Bye-bye.